guys, what's up? Wanted to do an introduction video. I am a full-time eBay reseller as of this month, really. I guess technically I kind of started moving that direction during the summer. Previously, I have been employed as a classroom teacher for the last 18 years. In fact, the school that I teach at, or taught at rather, my resignation was tendered for this month. But the school that I taught at was the same school I had graduated from. And so I've been there my entire 18 years in the classroom. And if you add all that together, because it's a 712 school, then that means I was at that school for 24 years. There's in fact employees there who were teachers when I was a student, when I started there in 7th grade. So I've spent 24 years of my life with some of the people that are there, and definitely built some really strong relationships. So I'm going to miss that. But as things go in life, there are seasons and times, and as those seasons and times change, we have to react and we have to make changes ourselves oftentimes. And so we have not come to this decision lightly, my wife and I. This is something that we spent a lot of time thinking about, praying about, deliberating on, and it really came right down to the wire the last few weeks before it was time to go back to work, before we kind of just bit the bullet, so to speak, and decided to put it in God's hands, trust Him, and see how this goes. Now, our reasoning for doing this is probably different than some. It's really a combination of factors. I think when I started this reselling journey a couple years back, I really did kind of envision possibly a time when I could do this full time. But other circumstances in our lives have pushed us that direction more quickly than what we probably intended. So that being said, the name of my eBay store is Bama Jaybird Resale. My name is Josh. You could call me Jaybird if you would like. That was my dad's nickname, so there's some sentimentality to that. As he was growing up, he's called Jaybird, and then as an adult, they called him Uncle Jay. He passed away in 2011, but he was really, I guess you could say, one of the forerunners, if you will, of using eBay as a platform for earning a living. After his retirement and some sicknesses, this was back in the late 90s, he was one of those early people who got on this train of selling on eBay, going to estate sales and thrift stores and yard sales, and looking for stuff to buy and sell and make a profit. And he and my sister-in-law did that for quite a while, and were fairly successful. I never tried to make it a full-time endeavor, but it was definitely a good supplement for them for several years. Myself, on the other hand, I never really got that big into it. I just wasn't excited about it like they were. So all these years I've known about it. All these years I had, could have kind of been ahead of the game, and probably could have made a killing off of this if I'd have got into it sooner. But I didn't. And so as like I said, as times and seasons of your life come and go, you find yourself in different places. And so I have reached a point now to where I feel like it's time for this change. And I've really enjoyed this so far. It's been relaxing to me. So like other eBay resellers, I tend to spend a lot of time going to garage sales, thrift stores, flea markets. I scour Facebook Marketplace, anywhere I can find anything that is usable for resale, something that someone else might be interested in, that the price is reasonable, preferably as cheap as possible, because we're trying to make a living here. So, we don't want to lose money. We don't want to break even. We are trying to earn an income. And so, but that's the goal, just like everyone else. And so to give you a little bit about the backstory for me. So as I said, I have been an educator, a teacher for the last 18 years. And in fact, to give you some insight into how quickly things can change, just literally about a month ago, I finished a second master's degree with intentions of continuing in education and trying to move out of the classroom and into library media. But as things would have it, it just isn't the time for that. So the backstory is pretty much this. So, of course, teacher for 18 years. I taught history and science, primarily chemistry and physical science, and then just about every history that's taught between 7th and 12th grade, history slash, social science. Um, but that being said, about 5 to 6 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with dementia. We had started to notice signs and issues, and we realized that we were going to have to do something. And it took a lot of convincing just to get her to go to the doctor. I'm sure that many of you out there, because it's such a common diagnosis these days, or at least it seems that way, but many of you have probably dealt with that with family members. So over the last 2 to 3 years especially, things have gotten a lot worse. If we turn the clock back to COVID, that first summer of COVID, when things were, really starting to get bad here in the United States. I mentioned my dad had passed away in 2011. My mother had remarried, and her husband had caught COVID, wound up in the hospital, and ended up passing away. Now, my mother also had the virus and was hospitalized a couple of days after him, but she recovered. My mother really doesn't have a lot of health issues other than the dementia. And so the point is this, I guess, in the span of time, him having been her primary caretaker, between then and now, and mother's condition progressing, it's just got to the point where she needs a lot of assistance, a lot of help, and needs a lot more attention and time from us as a family. And we're small. It's me. I have one brother, and then my wife, and we do the best we can to divide things up. But it's just becoming more necessary for one of us to be more present more of the time. And so that became kind of the driving force behind making this decision now. Because honestly, income wise, not prepared for it. Now my wife is a nurse, and she makes a good living, and we were able to switch insurance and everything to her. And I've been in the process since the summer started of really scaling up my eBay store and my eBay operations from what it had been. I was doing it, as a side hustle, like a lot of people do, just to make a side income before. But now I know that it's important that I at least be able to come close to matching the income that I had as a classroom teacher. And though I'm not there yet, I've seen a lot of positive growth and results that encourage me to think that definitely by the end of the year, I feel like I can be there, to where I'm earning at least what my teacher salary was, which, as some others that we watch on TV, resellers like Kevin, the Commonwealth Picker, has said, it doesn't take a lot to replace a teacher's salary. So, replacing my salary is not going to be that difficult. I've just got to scale up my listings. And I've learned, there's much more that I've got to learn. So all that being said, over as far as my eBay journey and this journey into reselling, this really started for me about 2.5 years ago. I began doing a lot of research, watching a lot of videos. I've watched, and just to give you a rundown, a lot of these, I've mentioned Commonwealth. Really, him and Harry Tornado are two of the ones that I've probably spend the most time watching, along with Mountain Man Treasure. I really enjoy their content quite a bit, but I've gotten a lot of insight and a lot of help and information from many others as well. I've watched Daily Refinement. I've watched Osborne to Thrift, Homeschool Picker, Rally Roots, Cincinnati Picker. It really just goes on and on and on. There's so many great content producers out there, and some that I'm going to fail to mention, and I may talk about them later. ADH Dave. I like I said, there's so many that I watch on a regular basis. But I've gained so much knowledge by watching them and by listening to them about how to operate on eBay, how to find goods and source goods, what to look for and what not to look for. And that has really helped me. So about 2.5 years ago, I began looking into it, educating myself, what I would need in order to be successful. I began moving toward, okay, I need a separate bank account, looking at tax information. I'm a person that really likes to be prepared. I probably over prepare sometimes for things, but I like to be ready before I make a decision. And so I knew that I wanted to go into reselling, and I wanted to do that in order to pay off some debts, hopefully pay off the house. But I knew that I needed to know more than just, hey, list an item. I wasn't comfortable with just starting there. And so, for like I said, 2.5 years ago, started that part. About 2 years ago, I began to start doing some sourcing. So I hadn't yet opened up an eBay store. I hadn't yet listed any items. This is probably around October of 2021, kind of the fall garage sale season. And I bought quite a bit of stuff, to be honest. But, I took kind of like some seed money. I had a certain amount of money that I wanted to take and use to get started. And we had set that aside, and I began to accumulate some inventory. I'd heard enough of them talk to know that the winter, except for thrift stores, and that's kind of a toss-up, but that the winter time is a tough time to find goods if you're dependent on yard sales a lot. And I live in a very rural area, so, we don't have a ton of retail stores or, thrift stores right here close to home. I have to drive 45 minutes to an hour just to get to one. So it was important for me, I felt like, to try to acquire some items. And so then January of 2022, we launched the store. That's when it opened up, and we began to list items. Now, at the beginning, I had a lot of assistance from my son and my wife, kind of dividing up, getting some things listed. We had talked about it a lot. There was this thought and this feeling that it was going to be kind of like a family endeavor, and it may eventually turn into that again, but it only took a couple of months before the new wore off of it, and it was pretty much down to just me. And that's the way it's been since then. But again, January 22, I started. So I finished my first year, did my first round of taxes. Of course, since I took pretty much everything that I was making off of eBay during that calendar year, I kind of set a minimum that I wanted to keep in the bank account. And then everything that I earned above that, I reinvested into expanding inventory, expanding my listings, as my business income. As it began to grow, I was able to target better items at times, things that I wouldn't have purchased before, larger lots of goods. And I'll tell you about some of the purchases and scores and things on later videos, things that happened during that first year. But that being said, we kind of turned that corner. We started this year. I finished up this last year in the classroom before the summer. And so when we got to that point, like I said, we knew that things were going to have to change with Mother. Now, a couple of other things that had happened that were going on. We had decided really last year, during the year, that Mother was going to need to move. And so we had decided she didn't want to move in the house with us. She still desires pretty bad to have her own space, pretty strongly. She still has her own house right now, and my brother actually stays there when he's not at work to help us out for the time being. But that being said, we began looking into the idea of either building a room onto our house or building a small detached, like mother-in-law suite, as they call it, for my mom, at least to be able to live in for as long as she's able to have that amount of independence. And so we began working on that last summer, not this summer, but last summer. And we were getting going good. I've been in and around construction as a side gig, because again, teaching, you have to do other stuff a lot of times, and you have to do a lot of things for yourself. So I've been around that since I was a teenager. I've worked for different companies, doing roofing, construction, remodeling, concrete work. I've got a lot of small amounts of experience along the way. And then I've been involved in the building process of multiple projects from the ground up. And so I took that knowledge, and we decided to build a small home for my mom. And it's detached off of the garage. I'll show y'all in a later video what we have going on. But the part of this story that I'm getting to, I guess, and you'll have to forgive me for rambling sometimes, but the part of the story I'm getting to is we started the construction project. Everything was going well. I laid the piers, got everything stood up, got the floor joist set, was cranking right along. I was working primarily just by myself. And I had begun to lay the subfloor. And so it was a really, really hot summer day, first part of July last year. And I was really hoping to, by the end of this summer, have it finished because of starting when I was. But as, again, times and seasons, we can't predict what's going to happen. As my luck would have it, I got out there, worked really hard the first half of the day. The floor was going to take 30 sheets of subfloor. So, 3/4 inch plywood, nothing, no big deal, not anything I was unfamiliar with. I actually put down the first 20 sheets by myself that morning. I took a break and came in the house, ate 2 sandwiches, sat around for about 30 minutes, went back outside, and the very first piece that I went to pick up, just like that, everything changed. The distal biceps tendon, that injury that weightlifters get a lot of times when they're doing curls, when it pops and the bicep comes up. Well, the one on my right arm come completely loose, tore completely loose, and so I was out of service. I couldn't do anything. I ended up having to have surgery within 2 weeks and going through the rehab, and so it just sat like it was for quite a while. My son and his friend actually, and a couple of his friends actually kind of stepped in and helped me get the wall stood up and get a roof over it, get it in the dry at least, so it wouldn't be rained on so much. But that was 3 months later. And so there it sat while I was recovering and getting to where I could do more. And so as sometime after, it was around the holidays, I was released. But then even after being released, the weather wasn't very suitable. I was working, getting in. I didn't have any time because it was getting dark so early. And so it really delayed the building process. All right. So picking back up, I had started working on it again as the days got longer before school got out in the summer, and then continued to work as the summer was going on. But it became very obvious that I wasn't going to be able to finish. And knowing that I was about to start back to work and mother needs to be moved, that became an issue as well. So a lot going on, a lot going on. And I hope I haven't bored you to death. I just wanted to kind of introduce you to who I was, kind of our situation, our family situation, because that's going to be a large part of the videos that I post in the future. Even though it's going to be about reselling, there's going to be a lot of references to those things. In fact, I do plan to give a full tour of the little mother-in-law suite and kind of give you an idea of where it stands at the moment. And then as we complete steps, I'm going to kind of keep you updated and add a little bit of that in with the reselling videos from time to time. So, okay. So the goals, I guess you could say, like I said, I launched in January 22. It's that first 12 to 16 months, mostly reinvest in everything. This summer began to scale up. I decided, of course, with my wife and through much prayer that we were going to do this full time. And so really what I seen was a lot of growth potential. I don't know that I'll be as successful as the most successful eBayers. But I've seen this grow very quickly, just in a short amount of time. One thing that some would say has been annoying about me probably in my life is that I remember a lot of stuff. Like, I know a lot of things. It's not like me bragging about it. It's just like, I like to know things. I'm very curious by nature, but things just tend to stick. And I tell my wife that it's actually, a lot of times it's a bother. Like, I wish there wasn't so much, because it almost is tiring at times. I have trouble sometimes resting my mind, turning it off to go to sleep. But for this particular endeavor, because volume of knowledge is so important when you're going out and sourcing, yes, the phone makes it so easy to look things up, Google Lens and eBay through those searches and filters. You can determine value, and if there's value in something pretty quickly if you don't already know. But to be honest, if you have to spend all your time looking up every single item you see that might have a profit, you will miss so much. It's so important that you learn this craft and that you learn what to look for, so that half or 2/3 of your time is not being spent on every trip out to a thrift store, to a garage sale, a flea market, trying to figure out whether or not you actually want to buy something, whether or not it's actually a good item. So the more that you can retain as you go through this process, the more efficient you become in all phases. Even when it comes to listing, you'll remember the values of things, and you'll have a good idea where you're starting before you even try to look up a comp and do a sell similar type creation. So anyway, all that being said, I hope you'll come along with me for the ride. I'm really excited. I'm excited about starting this channel. I'm excited about sharing my reselling life with you, and and excited about seeing where this road takes me. I've got a lot of hope that it's going to be good. So I've been seeing my listings. Of course, my number of listings has gone up. I'm trying my best to get it to 1,000 by the end of the summer, but hopefully by the end of the year, somewhere between 12 and 1,500. I see a lot of mistakes and things I've done early. I've got a lot of stale inventory that I put on early on. I've sold a lot, but if those of you that's been doing this a while remember those early days when you first got started, it's easy to make mistakes. And so I'm going to have to do some purges. I've got a lot of unlisted, large volume of unlisted items like a lot of you do. But I feel like over being able to dedicate my time to this and then having this time period over the winter when things kind of slow down, that I'll catch a lot of that up. Part of our building project out here for my mom is also I'm doing a small area on the end of that house. I think it's like 12 foot by 20 foot that I'm going to move my eBay store into the physical location. Now, I know that's not very large and it's probably not going to last me indefinitely. But as of right now, I'm taking up space in 3 different rooms of the house. Right now, I'm standing in the great room, which is probably my favorite place in the house, and it's huge, but it is so full right now. I mean, it's crazy. It gets out of control really quickly. And so my camera is actually set up right now on my pool table, which is covered with the tabletop. I haven't had access to my pool table in over a year because it's been my picture station, my shipping station. It's been the hub of my operation. And then storage all around me. Behind me, you can see the banker boxes with all the goods in them. So anyway, I'll show you more of that on a future video in the coming days. I've got a lot I'd like to tell you and show you, and then also get to the actual reselling part of this endeavor and focus on that, showing you things that we buy. Hopefully, I haven't got comfortable yet or thought about, okay, how am I going to approach, maybe filming on locations in stores or at garage sales. But I'm excited to start looking at that and trying to do that. So that's something else that hopefully we'll have is some picking videos, but definitely going to show you what sells from time to time, some of the good sales. It's going to grow. I know it's going to grow as time goes on. But I just I knew I had to get started. So this is me, Bama Jaybird Resale. Again, my name is Josh, or you can call me Jaybird. It's great talking with you. Look, if you like what we said so far, or if you hopefully are looking forward to the content that I'm going to be putting out, go ahead and subscribe now. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you'll know when new content is being posted. Give me a thumbs up if you will. That'd be great. Anything, I'm a long way. I know from having any profitability when it comes to YouTube, and I realize that, and I may never be a big success on YouTube, but I do know this, that as of right now, our primary goal as a family is taking care of my mother. We want to, if at all possible, try to avoid putting her in a nursing home. And so I'm just hoping and praying that God will help us, and that maybe through what I'm doing, that this can grow beyond what I was able to earn in the classroom, at least to a large enough degree that we're able to care for my mom. And that's the desire of my heart. That's what I want to do. So y'all take care. Love you all. God bless you. God loves you. And I'll see you on the next one.